This review looks at another version of the Liebherr LTM 1350 mobile crane. And just like previous versions of the model, it comes in a standard Liebherr branded box. And the only indication of what precisely is in the box is the description at one end. The trays are factory sealed, and somebody has helpfully written the word top to indicate which way up it should be. Luckily, the advice is good because when we take the top off, there's the model sitting in the trays. This version is in the colours of the Austrian crane hire company Felbermayr, and it comes with the usual instructions. And again, this version of the model does not include the lattice fly jib. This model has been reviewed a few times in different colours, so if you want to see details of the assembly, visit one of the older videos. For this Felbermayr version, we'll just start by getting it into road-going configuration, so we'll add the hook, add on the folded down for transport handrails, and with those in place we'll go the whole way and add on the Y-guy attachment also. This comes in two parts which you have to fit one on each side, and there are various connections you have to make with tiny nuts and bolts. Starting underneath, the chassis of this crane model is very detailed, and the transmission, suspension and some engine parts are intricately modelled. The driving cab looks really smart in Felbermayr colours, and there's a realistic number plate. The wheels are very good with different hub types and branded Michelin tyres. A particular aspect of high detailing is the very small graphics, and there are also some printed on the boom, and also the outriggers have the same high standard of detailing. Behind the carrier cab there's a nice mesh grille and exhaust, and the crane cab is also very detailed with Liebherr printed on the seat back. The main boom ram has a metal cylinder jacket which gives the model a high quality feel, and the Y-guy arrangement is also nearly all metal and is high quality. The telescopic boom sections are modelled in thin metal and have Felbermayr on every section. Let's start by testing the road-going characteristics, and the suspension is very good with independently sprung axles. The next test is to see it driving along, and it's not so good. And as you can see, the steering on axle number 2 is a bit too loose, and it's jumping about like a hyena on hot coals. It is possible to set the steering individually on every axle, and here we're setting crab steering so the crane can do a sideways shuffle, but again axle 2 is stepping out of line. Let's try again with conventional steering, but again axle 2's not happy, although of course on the display shelf this is not really an issue. To set the outriggers you just pull them out and you can have them at the halfway point if you want, or carry on pulling to achieve the full extension. The pads are lowered in the normal way by unscrewing, and it's always nice to see a smooth piston instead of an ugly screw thread. Also included with the model are some nice big spreader plates. With the outriggers down and mounted on the plates, then the crane can be posed wheels free. Oops, pardon me, I've now got my boom up, but that does give the chance to see the hoist winch working. Lifting the counterweights should be done with a special lifting bar, but here at Cranes Etc we've bodged one up using parts from the bag. And although it's not perfect, it does give you another posing possibility. Here we have the counterweight fully attached and the crane rotates realistically. To alter the boom angle, you use the specially supplied key in the grub screw. Then you can set the boom at any angle that you want, but you just have to do the screw up tightly if you're going to hold any load on the crane. The operator's cab also has a couple of features. There's a pull-out walkway at the bottom, and it also tilts to help the operator out when he's having to work at height. The boom sections telescope out nicely and they're locked in place by the usual spring clip mechanism. And this version of the model does have the ability to lock each boom extension at 46%, 92% and 100% extensions. So there we had the crane performing a lift on a small excavator. And now let's move on to the genuine imitation real life test. And here we have the crane set up, ready for some load testing. The crane has been set up with the Y-guy extension and a 33 metre jib, and it's lifting at a radius of 40 centimetres, which scales up to 20 metres. So looking at the load charts in a TY configuration at 20 metres, the crane can lift about 40 tonnes. The first load on the scales is just under 0.5 kilos. And if we scale down our load of 40 tonnes by dividing by 50 by 50 by 50, we get 0.32 kilograms. So this first load we're putting on already represents a 50% overload situation. The crane takes a strain and the boom bends a little, but it's able to hold the scale 60-ton load quite comfortably. Let's now add some more weights on, and these are heavy counterweight pieces from another model crane. And with the first part on, the crane is still holding it, and there are not too many creaks and grumbles. Of course, if we're being very accurate, we should also take into account the load of the hook and the lifting tray. But hey, this is Cranes Etc. Near enough is good enough. We've just now added the last parts of the counterweight on, and the crane feels like it's just about on the point of tipping. So that total load represents the tipping load for the crane. Let's put that load on the scale and we see it's nearly 1 kilogram. So the tipping load is 3 times the rated load, and that's a very good result for our Liebherr LTM 1350. This is another very nice version of Liebherr's 350-ton mobile crane, and it's a very attractive model in the colours of Felbermayr. On the whole, the functionality is very good, it looks very realistic, and it has some great detailing. So overall, it's no surprise this is another outstanding crane model.